Welcome to Module 6, Systems Co-Design for Transformations Across Scales. In Module 1 and 2, we introduced you to the foundations of systems mapping, the core concepts, definitions, meanings, and technical aspects, the tools and the methods used to represent complex systems. Now, in Module 6, we build on this foundation by shifting the focus to the human and social dimensions of systems mapping and co-design. We will focus on the process of participatory systems mapping, the promises, the limitations, and the practice of this participatory process. In real-world transformation efforts, the process itself often becomes the main challenge, sometimes even more so than the technical mapping. So in this module, we will untangle why this happens and how participatory systems co-design can help address this challenge. Let me present the teachers of this module, Domenico D'Antoni and myself. Domenico D'Antoni is the chairholder of the Chair Communication and Organizing for Sustainable Transformation, COAST in short, at MBS School of Business. He is a professor in business, resilience, and transformation in social ecological systems. His work focuses on systems mapping and co-design, multi-stakeholder processes, and sustainability transitions in agri-food and related sectors. I am Elza Dinkun. I am currently postdoctoral scientist with the COAST Chair at MBS School of Business, working on agri-food systems transformation within the Emphasis project. My expertise includes agri-environmental policy and governance, interdisciplinary research, and behavioral and network studies. Beyond academia, I am passionate about translating research into action through professional education and applied development projects. I work with rural communities, policymakers, and local authorities to foster more adaptive, resilient, and just agri-food systems. 3 questions will guide your learning throughout this module. How can systems co-design processes help build shared understandings and shared visions of change and transformation across scales? How can researchers and facilitators build these shared understandings and visions with actors who are geographically, socially, or institutionally distant from each other? How can this co-design process help translate shared understanding into strategies for systems change? Let's keep these questions in mind as you move through the units and examples in this module. This module is structured into 3 units. Unit 1. What participatory systems co-design is and why it matters. Unit 2. How participatory systems co-design unfolds in practice. And Unit 3. What participatory systems co-design enables. Each unit builds on the previous one, moving from why to how to what becomes possible. As you progress, we encourage you to continuously relate the content to your own research and practice.
Welcome to the first unit of Module 6. Here we focus on participatory systems mapping, what it is and why we use it. In this video, we will explore 3 central questions together. First, why do we need to build shared understandings and visions among people? Second, how does participatory systems mapping helps building these shared understandings and visions? And third, which tools can help us to do this effectively? Let's start by looking at the kind of problems that we are trying to address. Take, for example, the case of European agriculture. In all its diversity across landscapes and regions, and at the nexus of food, energy, and water. This is not a neat or clearly defined problem. It is entangled, messy, and ill-defined. It changes unexpectedly over time, its causes and effects are often ambiguous, and it often involves conflicts of values among many different actors. The dilemma is that no matter how we decide to intervene, we always risk to make the problems worse. This is why wicked problems require coordination between multiple diverse actors just to be understood and managed. Building shared understandings and shared visions is key to build sufficient levels of coordination. But this can be challenging, as actors who need to coordinate are often distant geographically, culturally, or politically from one another. So, how can they make sense together of a problem? This is where systems thinking comes in. Systems thinking is a way of understanding reality and to enact change by looking at the dynamic interactions among multiple interdependent social and ecological agents. By interpreting patterns of interaction and change, systems thinking helps people to make sense of complex problems individually or collectively and build coordinated, coherent actions to address them. Systems, and especially social ecological systems, are, by definition, interdependent, nested, nonlinear, and emergent. These characteristics help explain why simple, linear solutions rarely work for complex problems. Systems mapping offers a visual, participatory application of systems thinking. It allows groups of people to come together, make the complexity visible, and collectively engage with complex problems rather than tackling them in isolation. But this also presents some risks. There is the risk, on the one hand, of oversimplifying the problems. Oversimplification can make problems look simple and clear, but in reality, solutions proposed are naive and ineffective because they ignore the key interdependencies and dynamics. In contrast, we might also risk overthinking problems. Too much detail, too much analysis, too many variables can lead to analysis paralysis. Nothing moves forward at all. So the question becomes, how do we strike a meaningful balance between oversimplification and overthinking? Every systems map is necessarily a simplification of a complex reality we live in. What we choose to visualize reflects what we value and what we know best. And this is precisely through the collective effort of mapping together that blind spots can be revealed and addressed. So, why is building shared understandings so important? Because different people perceive problems differently. They differ in how they understand the causes, the solutions, and the priorities. Each of us holds a partial and subjective view of a system. But when we bring different perspectives together and build this picture collectively, we can then develop a more comprehensive and systemic understanding of problems, their dynamics, the actors involved, and the possible pathways for change. This is why the process matters as much as the outcome. Participatory systems mapping is not just about producing a map. It is about the social process through which understanding, trust, and shared meaning between people is built. The map is a result, but the learning, the negotiation, the sense-making happens during the process. So, which tools do we need when tackling complex problems through participatory systems mapping? Two mapping tools are particularly important. First, a problem map, and second, an actor map. In systems thinking, drawing, for example, on the work of Peter Senge, problems and actors are seen as two sides of the same coin. On the one hand, the problem map helps groups collectively break down complex problems into interdependent variables and identify the feedback loops connecting them. Causal loop diagrams are a common and useful tool for this. If you need a refresher on causal loop diagrams, you can revisit Module 2. The actor map helps participants understand how actor configurations relate to and reflect the problem. For example, in an actor map, you can see which actors are more powerful, which actors are the more dependent on others, and which one are disconnected from each other. We usually use value network map as helpful tools to visualize actor configurations together. Through a collective reflection, visualizing this actor configuration may explain why, in a problem map, some problems persist over time. Based on these two systems maps, participants can engage in two fundamental and complementary activities. First, sense-making, which is building shared understandings of a current problem. And second, envisioning, building shared visions on how the problem could be addressed by altering the system configuration. Overall, these tools provide participants with a framework to build shared visions for the future that deeply ground on common understandings of the present. So far, we discussed the choice of the systems tools in systems mapping. Now, the key question becomes, how can we make participatory systems processes really participatory in the use of these systems mapping tools? In particular, which facilitation practice enables their collective use? This requires attention at the participatory process before, during, and after the use of the systems mapping tools in a workshop. In particular, we should ask questions such as, before the systems mapping sessions, why should we invite certain stakeholders and how they contribute to the systems mapping table? How should we invite them? And also after the workshops, for example, how should we store, refine, maybe digitalize and use the produced systems map after a workshop? Answering these questions requires managing dynamics of power, equity, and diversity among actors, and recognize our own bias as researchers and facilitators. This is what we will dive into in our Unit 2.